You know what, Sam?
What?
It's okay. It's just been one game.
Yes, it has. All right, we're back with another episode of the Caniac Report. And Sam, yeah, first game didn't go as expected, kind of. But when I saw the stat that we were like, what, 5 home openers, streak of winning.
Yeah, so Rod's been the coach for 6 years. We lost the first one in overtime, I believe. We won the next five, and then we just lost this one.
Yes, so that streak is no longer active. But Sam, I'm sure as you know, as I do, that streak was going to end anyways. It was just a matter of when.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but you know what? I think the benefit of it is you didn't have to play the back to back, as initially thought. You get a couple days to think about it, and they
Mhm.
play tomorrow. So,
Yes, they do. They play against the New Jersey Devils at home once again, and before they go on the what I call the State Fair road trip.
yes. Yes.
Um, but a couple of things when it comes to the podcast side. One, we do have a link for donations. So if you feel like you want to donate, there's a link for that in all of our episode descriptions. And Sam, speaking of the home opener, we had our first live stream
Yes.
Friday, which was
Hmm.
really fun.
It
It
was
was a
fun, but
long live stream, but it was
maybe
fun.
it's bad luck because we lost the game.
No, no, live streams are not bad luck, Sam. But I mean, that was a special occasion. So Sam and I, we talked about this, but when it comes to live streams, probably in the future, it'll probably be for special events like that,
Yeah.
like the home opener, like the draft. Let's say we somehow tank, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but we somehow get like a top 5 pick or something this
Hmm.
year. We'll probably do a live stream around the time of the draft, and maybe we do one on the first home game in the playoffs or something, or trade deadline. So probably not trade deadline this year, because I just don't think the Hurricanes are going to do anything this year. But we don't know for sure. But it's when we do live streams in the future, it's going to be kind of very special because um, usually these live streams, as you could tell, we like to have guests on,
Yes, it's
which I
fun. It
was
was great.
really nervous at the first 10 minutes.
Well, we had
So
fun. We did a good job. It was exciting. Having Tim Donnelly, Adam Gold to headline it, Brandon from the Warning Take to take us out at the end. So yeah, it was fun. We had a good time. A lot of good conversations previewing the season, not just the home opener. So we had a good conversation with everybody, and it was all live too.
yes, it was all live. It was very fun. I'm telling you, I mean, you and I, we've been on live streams before, but hosting one is kind of a little bit different
Hmm.
than just being on a live stream.
But it was good.
Um,
It was fun for everybody.
yes, it really was. So that's pretty much it for the podcast stuff. Sam, quite a few stuff happened around the NHL. Big thing, Kevin Weeks reports that Igor Shesterkin turned down an 8-year, $88 million contract. He wants big money.
I'm sorry, I
That's
wouldn't.
that equates to 12 million. And here's the thing: he's their Rangers arguably best player. So can
Yeah,
you afford to lose him, or do you want to pay him what he wants?
it's
That's the
just
question the Rangers are in.
I don't know any team that's going to pay him more than 12. I think you're pretty arrogant if you think you're worth more vastly less
Well,
than him.
well, you have to remember with the cap going up, the percentage is going to go
Yeah,
is going to
I
stay the
just he's still
same.
not
So,
worth more. No, no, I don't care if the cap goes up 10 million. He's not worth 12. It's just not.
well, that's how agents bargain pretty
Good for
much
them.
when
It's
they're
not
trying
worth
to
the
get
deal.
their
I would tell
players.
him, you go find it. You find a team that'll pay it, and we'll have a conversation. So I would take the same approach that Carolina does, where you want to go talk to other teams, go for it. You get an offer, bring it to me. I don't think any team's going to pay him 12. He struggles. If you get to him, he struggles bad. He's a guy that you can get in his head and then he just literally breaks down. The reason we lost to the Rangers was not because of Shesterkin. He was not that good in that series.
It was their special teams.
Yeah, Shesterkin's not that great in the playoffs. He hasn't been. Against the Devils, they lost to New Jersey 2 years ago.
They did. And eventually Florida, who won the Stanley Cup this past year.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like Shesterkin, what has he done to prove that he's worth 12? Last year wasn't that great of a season for him. In fact, they were even considering that it was going to be quick starting in the playoffs. So no, I'm sorry. Shesterkin's not worth 12 million. If Jeremy Swayman and Linus Allmark, who've actually been better goaltenders in the playoffs, can't get that kind of a deal, then no, it's just no.
Well, there have been quite a few goalies that got extended. One of them being Seattle extends Joey Decord to a 5-year, $5 million contract. And they also named Jordan Eberle as their captain like moments before their first game. So,
Well, good for both of those players. I don't know if Decord's worth $5 million, but not when you have Grubauer on the books. I don't know if that's a deal I would have made, but they got to find a way to get Grubauer off the books if that's the direction they want to go.
Yes, exactly. And good congrats to Jordan Eberle, though, becoming the captain. He's a good goal scorer. Very gifted one for the Kraken. And another big contract was extended. Lots of players were extended this past week. Carter Verhaeghe from Florida got extended some big money. 8 years, $7 million contract. I think that's a pretty good deal, I think, for Florida. He got around 70-something points last year.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's bad. It'll work for him. Florida is a good team.
Oh yeah, they are. So that's pretty much it that I have for NHL news to cover. Now we're gonna get to some hurricane stuff, Sam. And we didn't. Again, the last episode was a live stream, which mainly consisted of all of us talking to Adam Gold, Tim Donnelly, Brandon, and one of the things that we didn't really talk about because of those guests being on is Grimaldi and Sam Gagne.
Gagne.
I always butcher that name. Both got released from their PTOs.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen us sign Grimaldi. I think that would have been a really good player to have in the minors. But
I was surprised Gagne didn't get a contract. I thought he played well in the preseason.
I did too. So, I mean, we'll see. It doesn't mean he has to play in the NHL. He could get an AHL contract. He could get a KHL contract. He could play in Europe. He has a lot of options.
And hopefully that means hopefully that doesn't mean Hurricanes don't like players with the name Sam.
Yes.
But they got released from their PTOs, and then came the whole Jackson Blake storyline, obviously, because again, we're kind of leading up to the home opener. Obviously, you had the cap situation of how are we going to finagle this, because Hurricanes don't really like putting players on LTIR. They like to accrue cap space, but eventually Blake does make it on the opening night roster. And honestly, Sam, what do you think of Jackson Blake?
I mean, it's his first game. I'm not taking a lot of stock into it.
Exactly.
I thought he was fine. I thought he had a good plays. I believe he was the guy who had the play to Slavin for the breakaway. That was a good pass. I think he's
a feisty guy. That's why I like about him.
I think he had a couple of defensive issues.
He did. I think there was one defensive issue he had in the first period.
I think the fourth line got stuck out there a couple times for mismatches off icings, and so it's not their fault. It's just how that worked out. I'm not going to take a lot out of this. This was game 1, so we'll see what happens at game 5, 6. Right? See what happens on Tuesday. But overall, for a first game, look, I don't think anyone was very good. If anyone listens to the Kings Corner podcast with Adam Gold, he said that too. No one was really good except for Stahl, Martinook, and Carrier. So comparatively, I mean, I thought Blake was fine. Not like
I
too
mean, I
serious.
thought Blake was fine too. They did get helmed in from Tampa Bay's first line a bit, but I mean, when your fourth line is going up against the other team's first line, you kind of have to tamper expectations.
Yeah.
So, I would say anything else with the Hurricanes coming to the home opener. I would say that's pretty much it. Now, after the home opener, Sam, Jackson Blake was actually sent down. I when I saw that, I was like, you know what? They're probably trying to give him some game time action more than actually sending him
I
down.
don't think he was actually sent down. I think it was a paper move.
You think it was paper move? Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was sent down. I don't think that's right.
Because I did see that, but I didn't see like Tyson Jost coming up, so it very well could be a paper move.
No, I'm pretty sure it was just a paper move. I can't imagine they'd send him down. I'm just checking real quick. Um,
But yeah, with Jackson Blank, I mean, being sent down
because he was
after
at
one
practice
game.
today.
Oh, he was okay. Then
Yeah, everyone
that
was
solidifies that it was a paper move. Then
Everyone accounted for at practice. Corey Love 8 hours ago. So yeah, he was at practice. It was a paper move.
yeah, and plus, I mean, I didn't even see like any player being called up from Chicago.
No.
I mean, you would think Tyson Jost would probably be the first one called up if there was like an injury
Yeah.
on the forward side or sending anybody down, but
Mhm.
that didn't happen.
No, it's a paper move. He'll play. That'd be ridiculous to send him down after one game when everybody wasn't very good. So
Yes. And another thing too, so this happened during the game, Sam. Or I want to point this out because Adam Gold pointed this out with Brent Burns.
well, shouldn't we save this for when we talk about the game?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. I was kind of thinking maybe Hurricanes news or talking about the game, but we'll do that. But before we do, Sam, before we talk about the game, let's get to a couple of our sponsors. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
What gets me excited about watching hockey is the fast-paced nature of the sport. Woo! Yes, that was Sam Driscoll, our other co-host that you heard. In fact, that is what got me sold when one of the first batch of games I watched was Game 7 between the Hurricanes and the Oilers back in 2006. Now, when it comes to going to Hurricane games, I am able to see quite a few great deals I'd like to go to in the future using the Game Time app. One of its features that I like to use are the seat views because it helps me visualize what I will be seeing when I'm sitting in that particular seat. Another key feature I like is the all-in pricing that shows your total upfront cost with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? game time. Okay, Sam. Recapping the first game. Now,
Do we
here's the
have
thing.
to? Can we just say goodnight and be
Yes,
done with it?
yes, we have to because that is part of our episode is recapping games. But Sam, I mean, you're right. It is the first game. Can't take much out of it, but at the same time, kind
Well,
of
you
need
can
to
take
take stuff.
there are things you can look forward to whether they start to be trends, right? One of them being if the Stahl Martin or Carrier line is your best line every night, you ain't gonna win many hockey games.
No, you're
Because
not.
they can do all the pressure they want. They aren't gonna score a lot. None of them have it in their DNA to put the puck in the net. They're just not that kind of players. And they were the best line, right? I
They
mean, they
were.
scored the only goal. Basically the final score was 2-1. They got a couple of empty nets, so it becomes 4-1. I don't think that's indicative of the result. Both teams weren't very good, and I thought the top lines for Tampa were kept in check most of the night.
Yep.
But our best line can't also be kept in check, which is Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis. Our second line can't also be kept in check, and then our third line, being the top line, not gonna win hockey games that way.
Yes. Well, obviously the Hurricanes had their home opener presentation. That was awesome. And then we find out, Sam. To me, this was the only thing that I have a little bit of beef with. Is we find out that Svetch is playing with Aho and Jarvis. And then
Yeah.
you have Roslovic playing with KK and Netchus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I'm not going to say we're going to win with the lines that Brendan Moore practiced in preseason, but I wouldn't blame part of the game kind of on him because at least he used lines that he practiced, but he didn't. And I think now from what I heard, I think today's practice they practiced with the same lines from opening night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. It's just to me that just seems common sense, like.
Yeah, you don't
Use
practice
the lines that you practice.
Yeah, what was the point of having it that way all preseason if you never were going to do it to begin with? That makes no sense.
Yeah, that was my
makes
issue.
No sense. Look, I am all for criticizing Rod because I honestly think he's made a lot of mistakes in the last couple of years, and I think his system, being stubborn on his system, hasn't gotten it done. I think being so willing to juggle up the forward group all the time doesn't always produce what you want. Got to let some of these new guys build chemistry and to practice, and then nope, never mind, we're changing it up. Game day, like what? What was the point of that?
Yeah, it was weird. I'm not saying we would have won the game. I don't think we would have.
No,
but it was just frustrating to see. And I mean, a theme that we're going to be talking a lot while recapping this game is the sole reason that we lost was that our star players did not show up.
Mm-hmm.
And this was part of the reason why I actually liked what Rod said after the game and the fact that what he saw out there on the ice was sloppy. He did not like it. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
No, actually, he said the effort wasn't there either. He criticized their effort. He criticized the game. He criticized every aspect of it. He said its own characteristic. Rod doesn't do that a lot, and in that regard, I appreciate him for saying that because
I do too.
Everything he said was true, and sometimes you need to call out the guys, and they needed to be called out because top players didn't show up, right, at all. Like they didn't show up at all. So
I even got this new jersey that you're seeing on opening night with Jarvis, and
I need all of our listeners.
I love Jarvis. He probably didn't. I mean,
I need all of our listeners and everyone who watches YouTube to tell Sam Wallace can't wear that jersey anymore. It's been tainted from the beginning of the season. First time wearing it. First time home opener loss in 5 years. Yeah, you can't wear that jersey anymore. Everybody DM Sam Wallace telling me can't wear the jersey
anymore. No. And first of all, at the end of this episode, I am not going to give my personal social media information. So they're not going to DM
it. Is
But they'll probably DM the
Yeah, DM
Caniac
the
report.
podcast. That's fine. DM the podcast. If you know Sam's personal, DM is personal. Everybody, just message Sam Wallace. Tell him you
No.
can't see anymore.
No. But the first period, Sam, honestly, I thought both teams were really rusty. We really saw just the rustiness from our players, except for one line, and that line did contribute. Great goal. Um, Jordan Martinook, I think, was the reason the Hurricanes got that goal
Yeah.
because he was the one that pushed the Tampa Bay player off of the possession of the puck. He
Yep.
got it, passed it to Carrier, and passed it to Stahl for the goal. Really good, great. And that line was great all night. No complaints there. And I mean, Sam, it seems like whenever there's a player that is on the same line as Martinook and Stahl, they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Because,
Look.
I mean, you've seen the history of that line. Nino Niederreiter was on that line.
Yep. No, it was a
Uh,
good line. It worked out well. Carrier played well. Martin played well. Stahl played well. They had our best chances, our best offense, and our best goal. But again, they're not finishers. They aren't going to put the puck in the back of the net on a regular basis. Don't be shocked if George Stahl doesn't score another goal for another 5 to 10 games, because that's how that is. He's not a goal scorer.
No,
And
none of them are.
And that line can't be relied upon to produce the offense. It has to be your top group. When Svech has a 2-on-1 with Jarvis, that has to go in. You
Yes,
got
it
the
does.
puck across on his stick, and you missed. Svech needs to score on that every time, at least 9 out of 10. Maybe that's the 1 out of 10 it doesn't go in, but you're not going to win many games if Svech is doing that all the time.
I thought Svech was actually the best player in the first period in terms of the top six. Because
thought
if you
he played
remember, he
well.
created a chance out of nothing.
No, he played well. It couldn't get the puck to go in.
No, he could not. I actually thought the worst player was honestly Aho.
Aho
Our
made a lot of really bad plays, including taking a really stupid penalty. I think that was in the third.
Yes, and another thing too, Sam. Again, not trying to take too much out of this game, but we're trying to see where the trends could start if it goes into a downward spiral in game 5 or 6. The discipline was a bit of an issue for the Hurricanes because I mean I don't blame the refs for making those calls except for the Jarvis one. I didn't like the Jarvis penalty.
Yeah, I think they missed some calls in Tampa. They missed a lot of calls in Tampa. First game of the season, they also get a little rusty. So
yeah, they do, but I mean
I'm
at
not
the
harping.
same
I'm
time,
not going to harp on the refs. I'm not going to harp on any of that this game because it's the first game of the season. Everyone's going to struggle a little bit, which is why I'm also not going to freak out about the penalty kill because it's the first game of the season, and Tampa's always been really good on the power play against us. So I mean, I'm not going to freak about that. It's just how that's been for whatever reason we can never figure it out. At least we don't have to play Tampa again right away.
true.
So maybe we get the chance for the penalty kill to figure itself out. Penalty kill struggled last year as well to start the season. So we'll just see if it gets figured out. I said it from the beginning.
It could.
If Carolina can find a way to go 500 in the month of October, I think you're fine. You don't have to win more than you lose. You just have to come out even. And it was rough because that's one of only 3 home games you have this month. But I think there are some positives. One, we know the Stahl, Carrier, and Martinook line's going to work. I think we had a couple of good power play looks. They just didn't go. But I think overall the power play was bad.
Gostisbehere, I think, had one good chance. He needed to shoot the puck more.
Yeah, shoot the puck a little bit more, a little bit better at walking the blue line. But again, first game of the season. What we look for is trends. And you can't have any trends game 1 of 82. And you're not going to go, as Adam Gold likes to say, 82-0. That ain't going to happen. You're going to win some hockey games. But if trends start to set in, if Gostisbehere is always doing that, if our top lines aren't producing well, it's going to be a long season. But it's just the first game. Let's see what happens. We have one more home game. I think that's a must win early on in the season. But if you don't win that, you're not going to be above 500 at home until you get some home games in November, because you've only got one more home game at the end of October. Now,
Has to get Boston too.
yeah, it's against the Bruins. And you think right now, if you're looking at the next two, it's New Jersey and Boston at home. One Tuesday, one at the end of the month on Halloween. You want to beat New Jersey because Boston's a heck of a lot tougher. Then you have your road trip before and between those two games. So you need to win against the Devils. You want a good feeling heading out west.
I completely agree. I think the New Jersey Devils game is a must-win. Gotta have some confidence on that road trip. Even though our last big road trip out west wasn't that good. That was, December of last year? Remember? That was in the midst of the players-only meeting.
Yeah.
But they got it together after that. But, I mean, you speak of the Hurricanes penalty kill. I mean, Braden Point scores on the power play. I don't really fault Anderson there.
Mm-hmm.
And because I thought Dmitry Orlov should have been on point a little bit better. And then you had the Kucherov goal. Now, those type of shots from outside are always going to be lethal just because you have so many of them, with Ovechkin being notorious of shooting just outside that circle a bit. And Kucherov has a blazing shot. So I think you could say Anderson maybe should have had that, but I can see why he might not, because it is Kucherov. And I'm not trying to excuse Anderson, but it's just Kucherov is a special player.
There are times you need your goalie to make a save, and Anderson probably should have made that save, but for the same reason.
But he wasn't the reason we lost.
You can't blame a goalie for a 2-1 loss. I mean, you're not scoring goals. Just like you can't blame a goalie if you get beat 5-0. You didn't score, right? So, like, if you lose 5-2, maybe some of that can be put on netminder. But you only scored a goal. They scored two empty nets. Anderson didn't let 4 in. He let in 2.
Which is why the game itself is a little deceiving if you just look at the scoreboard, because even though it's 4-1, it was more of a 2-1 type of game.
Yeah, and look, Kucherov gets a hat trick, and everyone's going to lose their mind about that. But he scored 2 empty nets, so it is what it is. It was I guess it's a natural hat trick because it was uninterrupted, or however that is, but I don't understand the natural hat trick thing, but he got a hat trick, and good for Kucherov, I guess, to do that at home or do that in our building. But yeah, I mean, I'm just look. I'm hard on Freddie. I've said it before. I don't think he should have been back, but Kochetkov should go good Tuesday. Yeah, he played fine. Kochetkov goes Tuesday. I'm sure of that. And
that was going to be my next question, was the goaltending decision against New Jersey.
Yeah, you have to start to rotate them because you're going to have a road trip, and you're going to rotate them in the road trip too. So, Kochetkov goes Tuesday. You get him a game at home, so both goalies get home games, and then they rotate. They split the road trip.
Yeah, and it's not to say that Anderson played bad by putting in Cooch in against New Jersey. It's just Cooch has more upside than Anderson. And if you can get that going sooner or later, it's going to help you. You're going to need all the help you can get, especially when, Sam, you and I talked about this a ton. I mean, the talent that was here at the end of last season is not the same talent that we have starting off right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you need all the goaltending support you can get. And another thing, too, is we saw the return of Jake Gensel.
Got booed a lot.
Yes, he got booed quite a bit. And you and I were talking about that, Sam, on whether he was going to get booed or not, but he did. And obviously we talked about that with Adam Gold.
Yeah, he thought that he shouldn't be. He didn't feel like they negotiated in bad faith. I don't agree with that. I don't.
Well,
They should have pulled
it
their
was
offer.
released. It was released that Aho tried to talk with him on an article on the Athletic, which is a
Mhm.
pretty credible source.
Yeah, look, if I think there's too much evidence there. I think Carolina is to blame. Sure, yeah, I blame Tulsky for some of this, and I blame Dundon.
Oh, I do too.
They held the offer too long, but if it got to that point, Gensel should have said, "Hey, we're upping the offer," or "Hey, we're moving on." Not, "Here's the offer. Here, we met your ask. Here you go. Let's get this deal done." And then him say, "Nah." Like, no, you don't do that. So I think that was the problem. And
And
sure,
they didn't hear back from Gensel. I believe on day one of the draft.
Yep.
So
Look,
I get a little bit mystified with how Gensel did that.
and this is true. People are going to complain and say it was tampering. By definition, sure, it was
It
tampering.
happens all the time, though. That's the
But
thing.
yeah, it happens all the time. How do you think people are signed at 12:01? I mean, right?
Yeah.
How do you think they're signed at 12:01 on free agency day? It's because there's tampering. There are deals in place. There are back channels. There are ways to communicate to get around it. It happens. It's frustrating, sure. I hate it. I hate Tampa for doing it. Would have been hysterical if they got caught and got fined. Would have been the greatest thing ever. But
It would have.
But we traded Stamkos, or we traded not Stamkos. We traded Gensel to Tampa so they could make the deal work. So,
And we were able to get a 3rd round pick from that.
Yeah, so we got
deal.
some kind of asset for it. So that's fine. You know what? It is what it is. We don't see Tampa again for a little while now because there's only 2 more games left, I think, against the Lightning. One in home and then one in Tampa. So boo them all you want. I'm all for it. I'm a boom too when they play.
And I don't think he played that well of a game anyways for Tampa.
No.
Yeah, he got a point, but I didn't think he was impactful in any way that game.
No, and that's good.
And another thing that I started talking about, and that we had to go to an ad break, Brent Burns.
Yes.
Time on ice was like 16 minutes. Yeah, 16 minutes and something seconds, which is the lowest amongst all 6 defensemen. And this is probably going to be my final question for us on this game. Are they trying to preserve him or sense something else is going on?
I want Trent.
I choose the later just because, Sam, you and I talked about how Brent Burns played in the playoffs last year.
I'm choosing not to answer that question yet because I want to see what happens in general. I think this was an odd game. There was a lot of special teams in this game. The second unit's not going to get a lot of time because, well, the second unit's not very good.
But you're also paired with Slavin, too. So
You are, but Slavin didn't play a lot tonight either. I think he was 3rd or 4th, right?
Yeah, he was 3rd or 4th, and that was just because we had, 3 or 4 power plays?
Yeah, penalty kills. Yeah, so
power play wasn't good.
He's the PK. So Burns doesn't play on the penalty kill plays on the second unit on the power play, which didn't get a lot of time. I want to see what those numbers are when we have an actual game where a lot of it's played 5-on-5. So I want to see what happens Tuesday. I want to see what happens on this road trip. Let's see if that trend is there. If the trend is there, I tend to believe it's a preservation method, not necessarily he's playing poorly. I didn't think he was that good tonight. Again, I didn't think anybody was all that great tonight. I thought Burns wasn't that great tonight. I think our best defenseman was Slavin. I thought he was good.
I thought Sean Walker was good. He kept
Sean
the puck
Walker
in
was
a
fine.
lot.
But we'll see what happens with Burns. I don't know. I want to see if it's a trend or if it just is a fluky night.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. You just can't take a lot out of the first game of the regular season.
Yeah, it's when it starts to become a trend, when it becomes concern. And if they're just trying to preserve him, that's fine. I have no problem with that. What they need to do then is probably do some line juggling with the blue line and put someone else with Slavin, though.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a disappointing loss just because, after that Hurricanes goal, I thought the Hurricanes had a pretty good first period. I thought they were better team of the two. And in the second period, I thought there were a couple of moments where the first line looked good. They just couldn't score.
I was impressed with a lot of how they played in that last 10 minutes of the game ish. Look, it's if you feel disappointed after this game, I'm not judging you. I'm
not either.
I'm upset too, but don't freak out. Right? It's game 1 of 82. We have 81 games left to play. And if this team doesn't make the playoffs, it's also okay. It's 1 year. If this team makes the playoffs and gets knocked out in the first round, it's okay. It's one season. It is a season where we retooled a lot. We lost a lot. And we brought in a lot of new faces. It is 1 year. It's going to take time for this group to gel. So if we have even if we have a rough start to the season and still figure it out, that's okay too. Expect growing pains. We had them last year. We're going to have them this year because of a lot of new faces. Wait to see what happens, and we'll just go from there. We have a game tomorrow, which is Tuesday, as you're listening to this on Monday. It's a divisional game. You want to win divisional games. You have to win divisional games. It's a team that you're going to be competing directly with for a playoff spot and seeding in this division. You need to beat the Devils, right? And if you want to advance in the playoffs, guess who you're probably playing in that first round? New Jersey. So, unless you're first in the division, which we're probably not going to be, it's probably going to be the Rangers, you're going to be wanting to beat the Devils. So you need to win against New Jersey. You need to win against the Devils and start racking up points against divisional rivals. So Tuesday's a good game to start. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a loud game. It's a divisional game. It matters. Let's see what happens there. If we see something similar to Friday, concern can start to creep in because now we're seeing 2 games in a row. If it happens again in game 3 on the road, again, it's trends, right? If this becomes a trend of this is how we're going to play, that becomes a problem. If we see a correction in this game, then that was rust, we're fine. You're going to lose games. You're not going to win all 82. You're not going to lose all 82. Don't freak out. It's just one game. We're just pointing out what we saw. It's whether these issues become trends versus whether this is a one-off, rusty, figure things out, a lot of new faces kind of thing. If that's the case, it'll all get worked out over time.
Well, I know one thing that's not going to be a trend, Sam, and that's going to be the Hurricanes losing every time I wear the Jarvis jersey. That is not going to be a trend.
I don't know, Sam. If it happens again, you can't wear that jersey again.
Seriously? Are you
if you keep going, and they keep losing in that jersey, yeah, your butt's keeping that jersey at home. You can wear it for away games.
You know what? If we lose 2 more times and I'm in this jersey, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm probably gonna wear Slavin or Netchus.
There you
go. But what if here's my question. What if I have losing trends with all the jerseys that I have?
Well, then we're probably not making the playoffs, so wear whatever you want. Because at that point, we're losing a lot, and I'm not happy about that at all. But again, just don't freak out about one game. It's whether or not this continues. Game 1 out of 82, not a big deal. Had a lot of rust to kick off. Tampa wasn't that good either. They just happen to have a better special teams. We'll see what happens. It's just one game. So, Sam, game 1 down. Game 2 coming up. I think we play game 2 on Tuesday. When do we play the first game of the road trip?
It's going to be Friday. I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's going to be the start of a back-to-back. So we're at Pittsburgh Friday, and Saturday we're at St. Louis.
So we have 2 games, divisional games, Devils, Penguins. Those are 2 wins you want to have. Pittsburgh's not as good as you. We've been playing pretty good against Pittsburgh the last couple of years, so I would like to see a win in Pittsburgh, but I want to see a win at home first. Tuesday against the Devils. And remember, we're sponsored by Game Time this time. You want tickets to the game on Tuesday?
Yes, we are.
Use promo code THPN. Get yourself a discount on tickets for Tuesday night. Be part of it. It's always a fun atmosphere at Lenovo Center. I'm going to get used to saying Lenovo Center.
Lenovo Center. Again, I think it has a nice ring to it. But we'll see how those games go, Sam. And one more thing I do want to say. This is podcast stuff. But because Sam and I do have full-time jobs and we do release episodes on Monday and Fridays. Let's say there's a Thursday game that starts at 9 p.m. Don't expect that game to be covered on the Friday's episode.
No. Well, again, how we've always talked about it was it'll be included as long as the game starts at 7.
Yes, definitely. And I had to say that because I know not this week, but the next week we play at 9 p.m. on a Thursday at Calgary.
So we have a couple of late games coming up. So that'll
Which
be
is
fun.
good. I used some time off just so I could watch those games.
Oh, so you took game time off for that? That's smart. Okay.
Well, not for that game. But
Well,
I used some time off to where I could watch the Vancouver game on the 28th, actually.
Okay, very good. Well, Sam, I think this was fun despite the loss.
Yes, it was. I mean, home openers are always fun just because they have that big presentation.
Yep.
And it was a sold-out crowd. So we'll see what happens against New Jersey. So we will see you guys Friday.